What would you do if one morning your grandmother left for the market, says goodbye, and promises to be back shortly? You know her market runs would take her maybe a couple of hours and she'd be back home. So you wait, afternoon rolls around, grandma isn't back, evening rolls around, grandma still isn't back, and you know definitely grandma should have been back hours ago. You inform the rest of the family and y'all go out looking for her. You ask questions around. Has anyone seen her? Has anyone heard from her? After grandma not being back for a day or two, you're certainly sure something is wrong. You file a missing person report, but you don't hear anything about the case for years. And then fast forward to 6 years later, you see on the news that there is this human trafficking, human killing, murder den in a thick forest in Ibadan, and there were survivors that were rescued at the place. And this is a place that has human skulls scattered all over the forest floors, limbs and other human remains scattered everywhere, and people were rescued there. Then you look at the pictures of the people who were rescued, and boom, there's grandma. Grandma is one of the people who were rescued from this den after being missing for over 6 years, and she's completely and totally emaciated. This was exactly Cecilia's reality, as she was one of the many rescued victims from the Ibadan Forest of Horror in 2014. Before we go deeply into the case, first, disclaimer. This episode contains graphic descriptions of violence, ritual torture, human remains, and abduction. Some parts might be disturbing. Listener discretion is strongly advised. In 2014, a human killing ring was discovered in Ibadan in Oyo State in Soka Forest, and this is something no one was ready for. This discovery was totally by chance, and my heart goes out to the family members of the victims in this case, but it's the disappearance of one person that led to the discovery of all of the activities going on there. A motorcyclist, which is someone who rides bikes, and in Nigeria it's mainly people who ride bikes and they carry passengers, so it's a form of transportation. Remember, in one of my previous cases I did explain that further, the hierarchy of transportation in Nigeria. And motorcyclist is considered one of the lowest because it's quicker and more convenient sometimes. Not like it's one of the safest, but it's one of the convenient one, especially if you're living in a congested area. One of the cyclists, his name was Abakuda. He reports to work as usual. There are other cyclists around and he carries a passenger. Now, as he's taking this passenger to his destination, his phone keeps ringing. And as the phone is ringing, he's trying to focus on his trip and then probably call the person back when he's done, because he's on the road actively riding, but his phone just keeps going off and off and off. So naturally, the human mind will try to convince you, what if this is an emergency? What if this is a message that might be too late to receive later? So he answers the call, and it turns out it's one of his friends, more like one of his passengers, his frequent passengers, someone that he takes all the time. And this is something that's very common in Nigeria. If you live in an area where you use bikes sometimes because of traffic or just convenience, some bike riders are very rash, that they are not careful the way they ride. They maneuver between dangerous spaces. They try to fit into spaces that are not even wide enough. Sometimes they feel like they're endangering your life. Meanwhile, there are others that ride at a very comfortable and steady pace, and they are able to control the bike so nicely that you feel secure. You feel like you don't have to glue your eyes to the road the entire time because you need to watch out since they're not watching the road properly. So when you find yourself riders like that their bikes are clean and comfortable and they ride properly and they smell good, because those people sometimes they reek because of occupation. They're always in the sun, they're always riding the heat from the bike and the road, and they're sweating, and if they don't have good hygiene, it's natural for them to reek. So if you find yourself someone who rides nicely, their bike is clean and comfortable, and they also smell nice, people are more inclined to make them their number one bike rider. So if they need to commute via bike, they would call the person, so they'd ask for their number and be like, You'll be my regular. Anytime I want to go anywhere and I want to use a bike, I will call you. If you're in the area, you come pick me, okay? So this is something that we Nigerians do if you live in an area where you have to use bikes a lot. So it turned out that this person calling him was one of those people, someone that he picks up a lot. And sometimes it's very easy to start considering these people your friends, because most times they come to your house to pick you up to wherever you're going, or come to wherever you're going to pick you up to your house, so they know where you live. And it's very easy to sometimes maybe be nice to them, like pay them a little extra than what you would normally pay, because you feel like, okay, they've been providing quality service and they deserve the tip. And other times, if you have snack with you or food or anything, you start considering them somewhat of a friend, then you start being kind to them. When you start being kind to them, naturally, anyone, if you start being kind to me today, I will start considering you a friend. And if I start being kind to you today, you're more inclined to consider me a friend. So Abakuda, when he saw the call from this guy, he was like, oh, it's my friend that's calling. Because also sometimes these bike riders, they make small talks with you, because it's not like it's not prison ride. Sometimes they make small talks like, how is work? How are you? Oh, are you comfortable on the bike? Is there anything I should change about my service to you? So just basic talks like that. So it's very easy for the rider or the passenger to consider each other as friends. Abakuda tells his current passenger that he was commuting at the time, that his friend is calling him. And he answers, and the friend was like, please come now. And he says, oh, I have a passenger with me right now. Can I come after I drop the passenger? And the friend on the phone was like, it'd be best if you came now. He had this sense of urgency. So Abakuda speaks to his current passenger and was like, there's this person, my friend. He sounds like it's emergency, urgent situation. So I will go. Can we turn around and go see what's happening, just in case it's, a life-threatening situation? The passenger, whom Abakuda also considered a friend at the time, said, sure, let's go. So Abakuda with his friend passenger, they turn around and drive towards the second friend, who was also one of Abakuda's passengers. When they got there, Abakuda asked the friend, what's going on? And he said, oh, I want to go to Soka area, and I thought you should take me there. Abakuda tells him, well, this passenger here is going the opposite of there, so I can't even take the two of you with me. How about I drop this passenger first, then I will turn around, come back, and take you. And the friend said, sure, I'll wait for you. So Abakuda goes to drop the first passenger. When he was about to go to pick the second passenger that had been calling him, he felt to himself, due to time crunch, Soka area is far. It's an isolated area. It's not an area I want to be stuck at when it's late at night by myself. So I think I should take a family member with me, go grab this second passenger, drop him off at Soka, and then myself and my family member will drive back home together, so I don't have to do the trip back home from Soka alone. That's already given the impression that this area is pretty dangerous or so isolated that it's creepy, that nobody wants to be there by themselves, even if they are like high speed riding through it. He asked his cousin if the cousin could go with him. The cousin said yes. So he picks up the cousin. They go over to the second guy's place. They take him and they take him to Soka. Next day rolls around and family members haven't seen Abakuda or the cousin, and his fellow motorcyclists, they didn't see him at their usual junction where they operate, and they're wondering what's happening. No one's heard from him. His family members are asking where he is because they haven't seen him. He wasn't home yesterday. And that's when the friend was like, oh, yesterday when he was taking me to my destination, he had a phone call from another of his friend who's a passenger who wanted to go to Soka area, so I think he must be there. Because we went to see the friend and he promised the friend he would come back to take him after me. So the family members and the villagers and some concerned people and his fellow bike riders, they all gathered and went to Soka area. They went there and it's like bushes, like thick, and it's a thick forest. They went there and it's this forest, and some parts of it are being developed, and there's this little stream in between the lands. So they go there, they search the place, they're calling out his name, they're following all the open paths and just calling out his name, hoping he would hear them. And they get a call from him, and he's telling them that he came to Soka area, but he doesn't know exactly where he is, that he got attacked along the way by some men, and now he woke up and he feels like he's been buried underground, that he doesn't know exactly where he is, and please you can find him, that he knows he came to Soka area. So they are still searching and searching and searching, and then after a while he calls back again. Actually, I can hear you guys, I can hear your voices, please find me. And they asked him, where exactly are you? He says, I don't know, but I know for certain that I am underground, maybe like buried alive, So he says, I can hear you guys, please find me. But this is huge empty land, and they start digging around looking for him. They don't know exactly where he is, and they keep calling him, where exactly are you? And he said, my phone is about to die, I'm running out of battery, I don't know, but please, please, please find me. So at this point they're looking around, they've started to see the dead bodies, and at this point they start to see the skulls on the floor. So some of the youths, they were following the bones and the human remains towards whatever direction it was leading, and they came to this unfinished building. And when they got closer, they could hear people crying and begging for water, begging for food. They're thirsty because they were being starved. And just then some guys came out and were firing shots at them, so they ran back to the rest of the group and were like, we think something suspicious really happening here. There are people over there in one of the buildings we found there. They were asking for water and food and things like that. We think that people are illegally detained here or something. And when we got too close, people were shooting at us, so let's go. And the whole team gathered and they went there, and at this point they called the police to come. They got there, and the henchmen who were shooting at the small group at first disappeared because now there are more people. I think maybe they just saw so many able-bodied young men and they felt like they could be overpowered. Maybe they didn't have enough ammunition, because honestly, fist to a gunfight, I don't think they could easily be outnumbered like that if they had enough ammunition. But maybe they didn't. But good thing they didn't if they didn't, because they left, which is also a bad thing because they were not arrested at the scene. I don't even think many of those people there were caught ever, but for now they left. And thankfully, I'm saying thankfully because they didn't succeed in shooting anyone or killing anyone, so at least they didn't hurt more people on that day. And this search party, they started to search the unfinished buildings. They were like a cluster, like a couple of unfinished buildings next to each other. So they searched it. One of the buildings was like their dump site where they would dump the dead bodies, and they were like decomposing bodies, the whole carcass. So none of their parts were missing. They were just rotting away. And another building had their belongings, and it's graphic. It's horrific. Another of the unfinished buildings had people chained to the wall, and they just looked all so malnourished, emaciated, and starving. They were all asking for water. So the search party, they immediately broke their chains and released them. And some of them immediately took off. Once they were released, they took off. Good for them. While some were so weak that they could barely even move. From 7 rescued people who were unable to run away because they were so weak, one of them retired in front of everyone, and 6 were left. And at this point, the police arrived. They saw the scope of everything. And what's the explanation for this? What explanation can you give? So there were some buildings around, finished buildings around. There were buildings owned by actual residents, people who live there. They go to work, they have a life, they have family, and some factories nearby, because this is open space. It's the best place for a factory compared to the heart of the city. So there were some factories that had workers who come in every day and go home, and some residents. So the people, the search party and the police, they all went to ask them, what's happening? Couldn't you smell the dead bodies? Couldn't you hear the screams? Because we could hear them from a distance, which is the same distance from your place to where they were held. So what's happening? Were you in on it? What do you have to say for yourself? They said, well, we were suspicious. We heard all the screams and everything, and we submitted petitions. We talked about it to the authorities that we think something sketchy is going on there. But the explanation we always got was that was a psychiatric asylum where mad people were held, treated, rehabilitated, and that was the explanation for all the screams they could hear. that these were mad people who were out on the street and, public nuisance and all that. But here was a safe space. And if you see the videos and pictures of the place, I'm wondering, how can that even suffice as a good explanation? Because these buildings, they look like a place that no one should even live in to begin with. When you're building a structure, you lay the foundation, you layer your bricks up until roof level, you roof it, but what's the next step after that? More like plaster the walls, right? I am not a builder, I don't know, but I think naturally it would be to plaster the walls, do the wirings, install the windows and doors, and then paint, and then furnish. But none of that was done. It was just lay foundation, layer bricks, roof, done. Windows open, no doors, but it's a facility, a psychiatric asylum. Ah, God. So the people said whenever they heard the screams and the cries and everything, they just believed it was the mad people. And mad people, they will scream, they will shout, and they comforted themselves with the fact that they were getting treatment, so they should be better someday. When the people saw this and the news broke out, all the blogs, all the vloggers, all the news media were reporting about it. So the police headquarters in Abuja sent out a forensic team to go to the crime scene and collect evidence and see what's happening. And there were a series of events that made people believe that the Ibadan government, allegedly the Oyo state government, was involved in this because, for one, there were no one being held accountable for what happened. There were no suspects, nothing. So before the team from Abuja arrived, allegedly, the Oyo state government had already ordered a demolition of the site. This is a site that should be untouched, untampered with, and you're demolishing the facility and you're demolishing the building? That's going to contaminate everything. So by the time the forensic arrived, there were no evidence samples to be collected. Even prior to the forensic team arriving, because it took them some time to arrive. But before they did, the police were being told to block off the area and not let anyone in, because at first people were just storming in and out, looking at the whole place, taking pictures. I saw a video of people just walking in and out of the place, which is extremely wrong, because for one, every single evidence there is being contaminated. Literally, you could be none of the people involved in that case, which I don't even know why people should do that. It's not recommended. If it's a crime scene, if you can look from the outside, you should, especially after rescuing the victims. These are the people who are clearly known as the rescuers, the saviors who saved these people. You as outsiders, try to look from the outside, because if it were to be a country where they cross their T's and dot their I's, they go in there, they already know the people who rescued the survivors. Any other DNA sample they see there that doesn't match the rescuers, you're on the suspects list, period. So I saw people just walking in and out. I'm like, what is going on? So then the police were told to protect the place and block it off until the forensic team arrived. And the people were just gathered there. They were screaming and shouting, rioting. We need to go in there, especially since these people were family members of missing people who the family member had gone missing. They had filed a missing person report and nothing came of it. And now they hear that over 100 people were murdered, beheaded, and there's also just around over 50 people had their bodies completely untouched who were rotting away. That's already like 150. And they believed our loved one could be one of those people. And there's one of the houses there where personal belongings are there. So please let us in to go check if we will see anything that belongs to our loved one, to have this closure, knowing that, okay, our person was missing, but they were here and they weren't allowed in, which I can totally understand why the police doesn't let them in, because again, contamination of evidence. But all that goes to shit if the government would just demolish the place either way. Before the forensic team even collects any evidence sample, they demolish it. They might as well have let the people go in and see whatever it is they need to see in there for closure. So that made people believe. I can't really talk about the activities or the reasons behind this gruesome crime, because at the risk of sounding inexperienced, I am pretty sheltered. I have not been in a situation like this, and I pray never to be, and I pray you are never to be in a situation like that too. But also, I barely even hear of cases like this. Truthfully, I never really heard of gruesome cases until I started listening to true crime podcasts and started my own true crime podcast. The podcasts I listened to were mostly Western cases, so I decided to start researching home cases, which is the reason for this podcast. It's one thing to listen to Western cases of true murder crimes or true crime stories, and I don't really have any input as to trying to decipher their reasons for what they did, because like I said before, no one was really held accountable for what happened even up until today. 7 people were being arrested by the police, and the police said that these were people working with the police. They were helping with the investigation, so they were not like arrested to be prosecuted. They were aiding the investigation. So definitely no one really to give full reason as to why this had to happen. But while researching this case, I watched a couple of documentaries, I read a couple of articles, and there was this video I watched on YouTube by this Nigerian true crime podcaster who does an amazing job. He gave me an insight as to why this happened, because personally I couldn't draw that conclusion on my own. And if you're one of those people who would rather see visuals, the seeing is believing type, then I would definitely recommend his page, because he has some footage as well. He has footage which I feel like it's not something I can digest again and again and again. I prefer my podcasts audio, especially if it's true crime cases. I prefer them audio, because sometimes I try to paint a picture of it in my mind, but at the end of the day, it's just imagination. I can easily just erase it from my mind because it's a thought. But if I see it vividly, I can't pretend that I didn't see it. So even when he gave me an clear insight as to this phase of the podcast I'm about to get into, I don't really think it's my palette for everyday listening of podcasts. But if that is your thing, then head over to YouTube and search for True Crime Daniel. It's a verified account, so you can't miss it. He has over 900 and something true crime story videos. That's a lot of visuals, personally. If you prefer that kind of content, then he's your guy. This is not a promotion, obviously. I just thought if that's your cup of tea, then that's where you can find the best tea. According to his video on this case, he said at first people thought it was killing for ritual reasons, that they are killing these people to use certain parts of the body for rituals like money rituals and protection rituals and stuff like that. But he also said that most times where people are being killed for ritual purposes, their heads are the most valuable piece that they need, as most of these rituals require a head. But finding over 100 skulls just lying around in the bushes on the forest floor, just lying around on the ground, signaled to the fact that ritual could have not been their purpose for doing what they did. And they also found limbs and torsos and other parts which are also parts that could be needed for ritual, and those parts were just discarded. So it signaled to the fact that it could have not been for ritual purposes, but mostly organ harvesting, as they just need the organs and every other piece is unwanted. And as for the 50 people who were just decomping and their whole body was intact, he said that would have probably been the people who died from starvation. And since they died from starvation, they cannot use the organs if they were harvesting for organs, as they needed fresh, I think. So if you're already dead and they find you later that you're dead, they just leave you to rot. Okay, I need to stop talking about this. So he said that he believed it was an organ ring and not ritual killing ring. But regardless of what it was, it's very, very wrong. Humans are not supposed to be products. Humans are not supposed to be commodities. And he also explained how that could be the reason why victims like Cecilia was held captive for over 6 years and was not killed, because for one, the survivors said that there were new victims every day. Literally every day they brought in new victims. Every single day they brought in new victims. So given that they are harvesting for organs, and maybe the age bracket could be one contributing factor, and they're bringing in new people every day, so they're never running out of supplies, and it's very easy for them to forget that they have other victims, especially the older ones might just be forgotten. And that's why Cecilia, who was a grandma, was able to live for that long, and thankfully she lived long enough to be rescued and reunited with her family. I hate cases like this because there's no closure. Absolutely no closure. Imagine 150 family members. Imagine 150 families, probably even more, who don't have an idea what happened to their family members, if they were even among the people dead, as there were no confirmations. So they don't even know if the family members were one of the people there, but they just know the family member is missing. And if the family member was among those people and they believe in their heart they were, they don't even know why this happened to them. And it's so sad when you see cases like this, because you just wonder, how can people do this to others? And you're there watching guard. You're there watching guard. Watching these people rot away alive in front of you without a care. How does this case end then? Those unfinished buildings in Soka is no more. They were demolished, and it was mostly just to bury the horror that place represented, because as long as people saw the buildings, they would always remember what happened in those buildings. Whatever happened to Abakuda? When the police showed up and everyone's looking for Abakuda and they're trying to rescue him, they tried his number again. Turned out his phone was dead, because he did tell them prior that he was running out of battery. Turns out that his phone dies and they can't reach him. So they dug around different graves looking for him in the building, outside the building. They kept digging around and they were not able to find him. And eventually the buildings were demolished and they didn't even know where to start looking for him, because it's a huge forest. To this very day, Abakuda hasn't been found. Well, we know he was buried alive there, but if only he could be found so his family can have the closure they deserve and give him a proper burial. That never happened. And it's sad that he had to die to rescue others. So after the demolishment of the buildings, the land was later redeveloped into a secondary school. Too many people went missing. Too many bodies were found, and too many people responsible were never held to account, because this is not the act of two henchmen. This is a full structural operation that's got people up the ladder and people at the bottom doing the dirty work. I will leave you here for today. Thank you for listening to this episode. If there's anything I said here that was untrue or slightly incorrect or miscommunicated, please do let me know in the comment below. If you know anything more about what happened in Soka, please leave me a comment below. I would really love to hear it. And tell me what you'd like me to talk about next time. Please, please, please stay safe, be careful, and do your best. Because sometimes, even when you're trying your best to be safe, bad things still do happen. But all we can do is try. Please, stay safe, stay alert, watch your back. And remember, monsters don't always look like monsters. Live and let live. Please be your brother's keeper. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.